Hey everybody, this is Scott from Laura's Hypnotherapy, and welcome back to video 3 of the Resistant Client series. And today we're talking about how a man who smoked in the shower, thought he was too old to quit, and tested me with his macho act, became a raving fan for referrals. So maybe you've had clients that, that you felt that you couldn't help but you really wanted to. You've talked to maybe your supervisor about it and then not exactly sure how to get that results. Or perhaps you're worried about getting a client pays in case there's somebody that you can't help. Maybe there's past clients that you haven't been able to help, and it's maybe like stopping you from doing some of the marketing to get new clients in because you're not really sure if you can get somebody results. So this will help you through that. This will give you some clues, some tools to bust through that really quickly. So let's get started and you'll see what I mean. So have you ever had a client have a tantrum? So for example, your client tries to rush you. They're going like, come on, get on with it, come on, let's move on to the next bit. Or you ask a question, they don't answer it. They try to control the session, which is a little bit weird, like they've come to you as an expert, but for some reason they feel that they need to be in control of it. They're testing your skills, they're asking you like, are you too old, too young, too male, female, what are you? So they're testing you in a way, almost trying to throw you off balance. They're trying to almost intimidate you to see if you can handle it. They're not following your instructions. They're judging your progress the wrong way, or they're judging their progress the wrong way. So maybe they've lost weight at a perfectly healthy rate, but they want to go a little bit faster and they're judging it wrong. Or perhaps they've been 6 days off cigarettes and they had one cigarette, and now they're saying that the whole program was a failure. Instead of thinking, no, this is something we can recover from. So perhaps they really are judging the progress the wrong way. They had a misunderstanding of what to expect. They're not listening to your instructions, or they leave your program, which can be bad, but even worse, they could cause a scene. So a father of 3 boys, he promised his wife that he would quit when the 3rd child was born. But he hadn't. So the child was born, and he's an ex-army guy. So he's got some hang-ups around authority, around psychology, around all of this like quackery, he calls it. But this was the last addiction that he wanted to quit after quitting alcohol and other stimulants. So he'd done quite well, but he had this belief that you can't quit cigarettes, that it's too hard. He was hard to convince because he'll gullibly believe his friends when they say that you cannot quit smoking, but he won't listen to a therapist yet when it's explained to him how to do it. So his struggle, he couldn't focus on talking for more than 5 minutes. He had an extremely short attention span. The stuff that happened to him in the army, where they would beat him into submission, and they felt like, or the way he described it, they broke him down to build him up, but they basically just taught him that authority will abuse you and you do what they say. And so he honors and values strength. And you'll see kind of in the framework that I'm going to give you how to use that. But because he's someone that doesn't sort of see anybody as an equal, they're always above or below him. There's a hierarchy in his mind. He believed that people look down on him. He interprets most feedback as an insult, or most instructions he interprets as an insult. The army taught him to not quit. And this is really weird. It's just the word. It's the semantics of the word quit. He thought quitting was to fail. But that's not how that word gets applied when it comes to quitting cigarettes. Like that, the idea that you can hold on to the original meaning you've ever heard of a word, it's kind of silly. But in his mind, this was a big deal. And when smoking wasn't possible, he'd push through and smoke anyway, including in the shower. So this is something he was proud of. It's like that. Nothing kind of like a shower or a walk or just anything that can kind of stop most people getting their goals. Like, it's not going to stop me from smoking. I'll just smoke anyway. So he was very headstrong. The fact that he couldn't focus for more than 5 minutes, that one was a bit of an issue. So this is the framework, how to fix it basically. This is how to win arguments with the parent-adult-child framework. Kind of looks like a football play, but I'll talk you through it. So there's the therapist and the client, and so you can see that each one has the parent, the adult, and the child. So the therapist, parent, adult, child. The client, parent, adult, and child. Have you ever played rock, paper, scissors? Because this is very similar. Parent beats child, adult beats parent, and child beats adults. So the parent basically dictates what reality is. They've got a sense of ethics, but they also have a blind spot. And so that if they're coming to you as the parent mindset, and you come in as the parent mindset, the two of you are just going to clash. The adult mindset is to be open, honest, vulnerable, trusting, and just speaking the truth. The child mindset is to kind of take no responsibility for anything and just do whatever you feel. It's like the id. It's kind of, if you have a tantrum, go ahead and have the tantrum. So he came in as the parent mindset, telling me what he thought was what. Does that make sense? So what I did is I came in as the adult. So I've labeled these as like X as in don't do it, don't do child. 1, do adult first. 2, then do parent. So all you need to do is adult, then parent. I'm going to show you how this played out. So he comes in with his macho act, trying to intimidate me. I come in with the adult frame. So I'm open, honest, and vulnerable, and I don't accuse him of anything. When somebody has that macho act, they're kind of like looking for you to either be the child so they can dismiss you, or the parent so they can fight you. They're not used to you coming in, no weapons, like, you know, in the West where they throw a weapon in front of, like, a gun at your feet, and they're like, pick it up. You're like, I'm not going to pick the weapon up. But I just want to let you know that when you act aggressive, it makes it harder for me to help you, which is a shame because I really want to help you. So I'm not telling him things like I'm not dictating like a parent, and I'm not giving up like a child or kind of just going with the flow like a child. I'm doing this middle ground. I'm being open, honest, and vulnerable, and just saying, when you talk in an aggressive way, it makes it harder for me to help you, and what I want to do is help you. And so because the parent has to have some kind of like ground of ethics, that shatters the parent mindset. So you've come number 1 as the adult against the parent by being open, honest, and vulnerable, drawing no weapons, no insults, just speaking the truth, but not stepping backwards either. They then, in a perfect world, would drop to adult, but they don't. They always drop all the way down to child. Eventually, they'll come up to adults once they're sick of being a child, but check out like how it plays out in the child mindset, because I think that you may have found a client that's been in the child mindset as well. If you come at them with the adult, remember how child beats adult? If you come at them with the adult mindset and you say, when you have a tantrum, it makes it harder for me to help you, they're being a child, so it's like, good, it should be hard for you. Like, they're not helping. Like, the child's ego state doesn't help. So they're kind of just having a tantrum, like, well, oh, you don't know everything, you're not an expert on everything, that you think that you know more than me. So they're acting kind of like the child. This is where you need to move from the adult mindset, ego state, up to the parents, and you give direct instructions. Whereas the adult was perfect against the parent, to be open, honest, and vulnerable. You come up to the parent against the child to give instructions. An instruction might be, I'm going to go get you a glass of water, I'll get you to drink it, take a breath, and then we're going to talk some more. So this may sound crazy, giving just instructions to someone who's having a tantrum, but trust me, when they're in the child ego state, that person they're compliant. They will do what you tell them to do. They won't do anything you tell them to do in the parent ego state because they're in charge. The adult ego state crushes the parent one, brings it down to child, and then eventually they grow back into the adult ego state, and they can then integrate all three. But this is kind of like, it looks like a football play, but this is what I want you to do. If somebody's acting like that, they're acting resistant, this is something that really, really works fast, and you're going to love watching this in play. I do this all the time, and it works every time. So then he referred his army mates, but unfortunately he became a militant ex-smoker who teases anyone who sees smoking now. So it's great that he's off the cigarettes, because he's off the alcohol, he's off the stimulants, he's off the cigarettes, but now he kind of like lords it over everybody a little bit. So this is something that we teach in the full program, resistant clients. And so clients will test you. This is what they do. And this is what we teach in the calm client. Sorry, this is what we teach in the resistant client program. Use the calm method from our program. So just fixing a typo there. Use the calm method from our program, How to Cure Resistant Clients. CALM is an acronym, and it stands for Childish Behavior, Agreement Frame, Lesson, and Moral. And it's kind of like a routine that I go through, that when somebody is resistant, you need to know the 9 frames or the 9 styles of resistance to be able to use this calm method. The childish behavior is you've got to identify which of the 9 issues is it, which of the 9 types of resistance are they showing you, which we show in the program. The agreement frame is when you zoom out and you find a point of common agreement, so that if they're getting hung up on one little detail, you zoom right out and you ask, well, what is it that you're here for? We agree with that. Like, you're here to cure addiction. You're here to get better. You zoom out of the specifics, like when they're like, but you're supposed to be a therapist this way. You're supposed to be a therapist that way. Like when they're dictating to you how you're supposed to be. So you zoom out and you find a point of common agreement. The lesson is then you tell them a story after you've zoomed out. You tell them a story that changes their view. Facts, figures, and numbers don't change people's points of view. Stories do. We're wired that way. And then the moral. So summarize the main points of the lesson and then give them a task. Just move straight into giving them a task. Just as if like you're the parent talking to the child ego state. So thank you again so much for watching. Let me know if you have a resistant client who tantrums. I'm happy to answer questions in the comment section. Just let us know. I hope this serves you, and go out there and make addiction history. Again, I honor the fact that you guys, you're not stacking shelves, you're not necessarily doing like maybe doing trading, but you're also doing something where you're helping people, and it's complex. It can be tiring sometimes, and you're spending the time to basically further your education to make sure that you can help people better. So thanks again for being here. Hope to see you on the program, or see you on the other side.